time for a fanfiction called The Great Vtuber Animal Competition, written by Zephyr Soulstice. After a long day of streaming, Zephyr Soulstice got off his computer and realized that it was almost time to go to the local temple of Ithra to judge the Great Vtuber Animal Competition. Ithra is sponsoring this year's competition, and the winner will win a free year of her divine protection from any scuff while streaming. He decided to get an Uber to take him there. Placing his request, he stared at his phone screen, baffled once he saw who his driver was. The driver's name read Heidi Heiter, and her profile picture showed a cowgirl in a general's military uniform. "I didn't know Heidi was an Uber driver," Zephyr said. Moments later, a black SUV screeched to a halt in front of him. The driver's window rolled down, revealing Heidi's face grinning at him. "Hi, Zephyr, get in," she barked, giving a salute. "You're going to the Great Vtuber Animal Competition, aren't you? Then you have an appointment with destiny." Zephyr opened the passenger door to a unique interior. A miniature German flag dangled from the rearview mirror, and tarot cards were scattered across the dashboard. "I appreciate the enthusiasm," Zephyr said, unsure of the source of Heidi's energy. "Yeah, enthusiasm is the secret to victory," Heidi asserted. "I predict this ride will be extraordinary." Zephyr barely buckled his seatbelt before the car rocketed down the road like a cow escaping a cattle prod. Upon arriving at the temple after 3 near-death experiences in traffic, Heidi forced a 5-star Uber review from Zephyr at gunpoint before letting him out, adding, "You know who to vote for in the Great VTuber Animal Competition, don't you?" Zephyr nodded his head nervously, knowing the implications if he had refused. Heidi said smugly, "Victory shall be mine." Zephyr stepped into the sacred hall of the temple. There was a stage constructed at one end of the hall across from crowded seats being filled for the show. It was on this stage that 5 competitors stood, each one next to their respective displays. Heidi's display featured a life-sized cow sculpture made entirely of bratwurst and a sign that read, "Cows, the true worst warriors." Hina Lusaire was standing before a shrine to Nyanlethotep, where her cultists hissed and chanted about cat supremacy. Redcoat Panda was leaning coolly against a bamboo shoot with a sign labeled, "Panda's Rule. Deal with it." Splindaugh stood proudly beside his coop of chickens. RokTheBear stood in Viking attire in front of a taxidermy polar bear holding a hammer and wooden shield painted with a bear emblem, roaring, "The bear shall claim victory!" "Wait, all of the competitors are my friends?" Zephyr asked, rubbing his temples. Before Zephyr could even process what was happening, the contestants spotted him and swarmed him like animals to a feeding trough. "Zephyr," Heidi barked, gripping his shoulder with alarming strength. "Remember our deal, yeah? Don't let these amateurs sway you." She shot him a confident wink, then suddenly mimed finger guns. Zephyr gulped. "Zephyr, my friend," Rock boomed, slapping Zephyr on the back with enough force to dislodge his soul from his body. "I've prepared a mighty display of bear greatness. Witness my unmatched strength." "I require no theatrics," Panda said calmly, adjusting his DM screen. "I merely ask that you recognize pandas as the superior life form through undeniable logic." "You will vote for cats," Hina purred ominously, with her cultists lurking behind her, chanting Nyanlethotep's name. "Zephy, check this out." Splin smiled, holding one of his chickens in front of him, resting on his upturned palms like a treasured artifact. "Look at this little cutie," beamed Splin. "Perfection in poultry form." I think I need some air," Zephyr muttered. He staggered away from the group, clutching his head. "How did my life end up like this?" Once the competition began, the contestants presented their cases in turn, with their talents to prove that their species was the best. Heidi launched into an intense monologue about the dominance of alpine cows, explaining how their milk could fuel empires and how their mooing could shake the heavens. She ended her speech by again pointing her finger guns at Zephyr. He broke into a cold sweat. Next, Hina presented her Nyakult, boasting that cats were not only adorable, but capable of bending reality to their will. Her demonstration involved summoning a cat that blinked in and out of existence like a spectral void, which left Zephyr wondering if he had lost his mind. Panda stood calmly, gesturing to a series of elaborate diagrams on a chalkboard titled, "The Historical Perfection of Pandas." No one understood a word of it, but Panda's chill confidence seemed oddly convincing. Splin showcased his highly disciplined chicken army while marching and clucking in sync to the tune of Splin's heartfelt ballad, singing, "Cluckin' strong, cluckin' proud, our mighty wings will wow the crowd. Feathers fierce, beaks held high, the chicken reign will never die." When the final note rang, Splin's true wings came out and Zephyr opened his mouth. But all that he said was, Huh. He gave a slow, impressed nod. Rock took a different approach, first flexing his muscles, and then hoisting a nearby log over his head, declaring, "Behold, bears can do this!" Zephyr, still mentally processing Splin's chicken choir act, raised his eyebrow before saying, "Remind me not to get on his bad side." It was time for Zephyr to make his decision. Who would win? The winner is... I need more time to think. This was not what anyone wanted to hear, and the competition soon spiraled into madness without a proper conclusion. Hina's cultist tried to sabotage Rock by placing catnip in his bear pelt, causing his clothing to attract every stray feline within a mile. Splin's chickens kept stealing bratwurst from Heidi's cow sculpture, prompting Heidi to reply with, "Stop taking Willie's wieners!" Meanwhile, Panda defended himself from the others behind his DM screen. Through it all, Heidi drew tarot cards and stated bizarre predictions. "The bear shall strike, only to strike himself," Heidi proclaimed. Moments later, Rock grabbed the hammer from his stuffed polar bear. "Behold the might of bears!" he roared, swinging it wildly in an attempt to intimidate the competition off the stage. Unfortunately, the hammer slipped from his grasp when he got jump-scared by a creepy sound effect that came from one of the stage speakers, only to land squarely on his own foot. "Hurrah!" Rock bellowed, hopping on one leg. "The cat shall attempt trickery in the shadows," Heidi announced. Moments later, Hina's cultists emerged from the darkness, carrying a suspiciously fluffy catsuit. They swarmed Splin, chanting, "One of us, one of us," as they tried to stuff him into the feline costume. "What are you doing?" Splin squawked, flapping wildly to escape. "You must embrace the cat," one cultist insisted. "Join the Nyakult," said Hina. "The void will speak nonsense that shapes fate," Heidi shouted. Reuben burst through the sacred hall entrance door shouting, "Banana!" just as a fruit cart outside overturned, sending bananas cascading across the floor. Zephyr's frustration only mounted. "This is ridiculous," he muttered with his hands buried in his face. It was then that, as if on cue, a warm glow washed over him and Aethra's light guided his thoughts. Wait, Heidi's tarot readings. They're all true. Knowing what he must do, Zephyr said, "The winner is... the void." "What?" Heidi stared in disbelief. "Banana!" Reuben exclaimed triumphantly. "Zeph, what the clock are you thinking?" Splin squawked. "See, I told you you're a chicken after all," said Hina. "I'm a fallen angel," replied Splin. "Duck," retorted Panda. Rock put a hand on Splin's shoulder, his voice surprisingly gentle. "Hey, don't sweat it. I'm not really a bear. I'm a Viking, but I've got the spirit of a bear, and that's what really counts." "Yeah," Splin muttered. The crowd erupted into cheers as Hina's cultists knelt before Reuben in worship. Splin's chickens clucked in song approvingly. Panda simply nodded, as if this had been his plan all along. Heidi stormed off, muttering something about revenge, but that is a story for another time. The scene fades, revealing LuxTaleor seated by a fireplace closing a leather-bound book. And that is the story of how Zephyr's legendary judgment shaped the fate of the great Vtuber animal competition, he said warmly to his chat. "Wow," somebody typed in chat. "So what's the moral of the story?" Lux paused, then smirked. "Never underestimate a banana." The end. Thank you all for listening.